Guten Tag, dear listeners. This is Ryan.
And I don't know how to say that in German. I'm Kyle.
Yeah, I don't know how to say that one either in German.
Ich bin Kyle.
Nice. And how is it going, Kyle? We skipped. Now we get to decide whether to leave this part in or not. What are we listening to?
We are listening to each other talk, but our listeners are listening to The Doctor's Watcher, the alchemical podcast about every episode of Doctor Who.
Nice. Back to the alchemy, which we literally do with this podcast, turning shit into gold.
Indeed.
It's pretty good for shit.
Nice. Yeah, it turns out if you polish it enough. So how's it going, Kyle?
I'm doing all right. I finished reading this series of books recently that I very briefly teased at the start of the previous episode. And yeah, I thought I would tell you a little bit about them. It is the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy, also incorrectly known as the Three Body Problem trilogy.
Ah, yes. Cool.
Which is the name of the first book, not the name of the actual trilogy. But I will note that on the cover of the third book, it says, something to the effect of the conclusion to the trilogy that started with the Three Body Problem. And I'm like, all right, you know that nobody calls it Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy. They're just leaning into how people actually know it.
Mm-hmm. Since it's a trilogy, is each book one of the bodies that's a problem?
No, actually, the concept of the Three Body Problem is mostly only in the first book. It kind of touches on it in the second and third, but they mostly just deal with it in the first. Yeah, it's a really interesting series. I think I had mentioned it to you before, and you said that you had heard that the characters were maybe a bit flat or underdeveloped, which I would probably tend to agree with, but I found the plot compelling enough that it didn't really bother me too much about the characters. It's fairly allegorical in tone and feel, which I think kind of lends to the flat, underdeveloped characters. They're less there as characters and more as serving the story and progressing the plot and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, it was really interesting. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give too big of spoilers, but in the first book, it's almost kind of like a mystery adventure where physics experiments are going wrong and not giving the expected results. We pretty much know what happens when you slam two particles into each other at extreme high speeds in a particle accelerator.
Mm-hmm.
So when they start doing that and the shit that they expect to happen doesn't happen and other shit happens, then they're like, what the fuck? Why is physics broken? And, there's kind of a whole process of figuring out what's going on with that and why that's happening. And I will give a slight spoiler. Turns out that's happening because an alien civilization from, a few light years away is fucking with us.
Cool. Which is what I would do if I had that power.
And yeah, throughout the course of the three books, kind of the scope of the plot just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And more crazy shit is happening, and like it spans the course of mostly of a few hundred years until the end, and then like billions of years.
Wow.
And the scope kind of expands from like, what sort of weird physics shit is happening on Earth in the shadow of the Chinese Cultural Revolution, to like, shit that threatens the entire universe.
Wow. Awesome.
And yeah, it gets into like a lot of interesting concepts, both scientific and philosophical. It talks a lot about the dark forest theory, which I'm actually not sure whether that exists, like whether the author of the Three Body Problem series invented dark forest theory, or if it's, an existing theory that he just used. But it's kind of the idea that like any sufficiently advanced galactic civilization is, as soon as they detect any other civilizations starting to become advanced, they'll just like crush them and annihilate them in order to like preserve their own civilization. And so thus, in such a galaxy, you have to be really careful about like not letting your civilization get even detected by anybody else. So that's kind of like a possible response to the Fermi paradox. It's like, well, maybe we haven't been contacted by aliens, because if any other aliens found out that any other aliens existed, they'll just wipe them out. So everyone just kind of keeps to themselves.
That's reasonable, although possibly a bit humanocentric.
Yeah,
because that
possibly
seems like something we would do. Not necessarily something we can count on aliens to do.
Right, yeah. So yeah, it's really interesting. It goes a lot into like kind of the nature of humanity, and yeah, like base instincts versus, altruistic instincts, basically, and how Earth civilization and humanity kind of deals with realizing A, that we're not alone in the universe, and B, probably everyone wants to kill us, because probably everyone wants to kill everyone.
Because that's just how it goes. Fair enough. Nice.
So yeah, it was really cool. I think I've mentioned before how usually I will have kind of a stack of quote up next books, and then I'll roll dice to determine which one I read next.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me a while to read this trilogy. I think I read the first one around the start of 2024. And I read the second one around the start of 2025. And I read the third one either at the end of 2025 or like January 26, maybe. So yeah, it kind of spread out, but yeah, a lot of fun, really interesting. It's not, like the most amazing books I've ever read or anything, but I think they're worth a read if you're interested in like cool, like high concept sci-fi.
Yeah, well, I fucking love cool high concept sci-fi. Yeah, I'm just thinking like maybe that's next on my list after I get through the existing Dungeon Crawler Carl books, of which I am now on book 6.
Nice.
Well, that sounds cool. Do you plan on watching the TV show? I believe it's Amazon produced.
Yeah, I would like to at some point. I haven't made like specific plans yet. But yeah, I've heard it's pretty decent, and there are definitely like some parts in the first book. I think I'm guessing the TV show probably only covers the first book so far, but there are definitely parts in the first book that I'm like, oh, that seems like it would be really cool to see on screen. I definitely would like to see how they portray that.
Yeah. Cool. I have also heard the TV show is pretty good. But yeah, like I really don't enjoy, well, maybe it's not that I don't enjoy, but I prefer reading a book, if there's a book of a TV show, before watching the TV show.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's cool. That sounds like a good series.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the author?
It's either Cixin Liu or Liu Cixin, depending on his original Asian name or the westernized version.
So Liu is the family name, probably?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So if you're reading the English translations, then the author will be listed as Cixin Liu.
Cool. Okay. Good to know. Originally Chinese, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and a random side note, but the Chinese Cultural Revolution itself is fascinating. Very interesting to kind of learn what can go right and what can go wrong when, you know, people sort of decide to like change their philosophy as a whole.
Yeah, for real.
And try to follow that path.
Yeah. Yeah, and like
that could be a whole other conversation.
the first book in particular is definitely kind of like in the shadow or in the background of the Cultural Revolution having happened. I think the first chapter or the first couple of chapters take place like actually during the Cultural Revolution, and then it skips to like, I don't know, probably early 2000s, but it's, you know, definitely like, you know, the characters have like generational trauma from the Cultural Revolution.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's interesting. I have a coworker whose parents are Chinese immigrants. And yeah, it's kind of a sensitive topic that I want to ask them more about, but like, I don't, because I can tell, you know, like it's a little sensitive, but they have made reference to like how their mother has not quite escaped Chinese communism, even though, you know, they're American now.
Interesting.
And I don't know what that means. And it's like, I just want to ask questions, but I don't want to pry. And like they recently toured China, like during Christmas break, basically last year, and with their family. And they were saying, what was it? Like, they are suffering so much. Like they just live such a horrible life. They're like walking corpses and they don't even realize it. And I was thinking, like, if they don't realize it, is it a problem? Like, does it matter? And they also said, like, a taxi cab driver, you know, he works full time, you know, long hours, and in a month he makes like $11 or $12.
Jeez.
That's your first reaction, right? But guess how much housing costs?
How much?
Almost nothing. It's like $6 a month.
Oh, wow.
Like it's heavily, you know, I mean, I think if you have means and resources, you pay more, but like,
sure.
You know, housing is heavily subsidized by China because like it's bad to have homeless people.
Right.
They don't really have homeless people that much.
Turns out it's actually better for society and better for economics to just pay to house homeless people than not.
Right. Huge surprise. So yeah, it's like, what's the ratio? Like if he makes $12, you know, half of that goes to housing. Okay. Like that's like me making, I don't know, random, you know, round number $5,000 a month. and paying $2,500 for housing. Like, it's just
Right.
you can't just say like, oh my God, he only makes $12. So yeah, interesting. Obviously, China's not perfect, but they certainly are superior to us in many aspects.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's hard to even conceive of a system or society where like making $12 a month is kind of just fine. Like, not great, obviously, but like it can be okay.
Yeah, like the actual number means zero without context,
right?
Of like what ratio of that goes to food and what ratio goes to shelter and whatever.
Well, cool. Have you been up to anything interesting recently?
Yeah, not too much to report since we last spoke. I don't know, I yammered on so much about video games, I probably should have split them up. One for 2 weeks ago and one for this episode. But in Eugenics, I recently unlocked, I guess, sort of minor spoiler, but apparently there's so much more. This is only kind of beginning, but I unlocked, it's like a family tree kind of view of the cats.
Nice.
So I can like see how the genetics are being passed and get a lot more like detailed about my breeding program, which again, in an interview, Edmund McMillan was talking about how he kind of had the idea, and I guess his wife had ordered some weird, I forgot exactly what type of cat it was. It was like a specific breed of cat. I think it was one of like the British breeds or something, but it was like this short leg version.
Oh,
so like the rest of the cats, the normal size, but the legs are like really short and they're probably super cute. But also probably just genetically fucked.
Probably, yeah.
And so like she had ordered the cat from the breeder and paid the money and all the stuff. And then, you know, the mama cat was pregnant and it came time to give birth. And like a little while later, the breeder contacted them and was just like, yeah, I'm really sorry. It died. And I think they got refunded. He didn't really go into it, but he was like, that just made him realize like this whole concept is very ethically questionable. Like, and I was like, go a step farther and admit it's ethically wrong. But still, like, this is a, yeah, what are we doing to these poor animals? And yeah, like almost any animal, you know, that's been domesticated, like horses, I don't know specifically if horses have kind of been bred into fucked upness per se, but I definitely know there's dogs, like, what is it? The pugs, I think, almost universally have like, breathing issues and like
problems. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, like certain cats too, like cats don't give a shit about mating with their parents. I had it happen once a while ago. If you remember my first marriage, and we had all those cats, and yeah, one of them had babies and then banged the babies and had more babies. So yeah, they can get down some very swirly little eddies in the river of biology, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I'm doing that in a video game now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I guess not too much to report other than that. We're still on the house hunt, and on the house selling, the opposite of hunt, I guess. Not much news to report there, really. So yeah, just keeping on.
Nice.
I do have a joke this time, which is probably going to make me sound really stupid because I'm going to attempt 3 different accents.
Excellent.
Yeah. So a Scotsman, an Englishman, and an Irishman are all on death row. And the warden comes to the three of them, and he's like, okay, you got three choices on how you get executed. You can either be shot, you can be hung, or we can inject you with AIDS and you die a slow, miserable death. And the Scotsman's like, aye, laddie, I'll take the bullet. And they shoot him and he dies. And comes to the Englishman, and the Englishman's like, right, you wee bastard, I'll take the rope. And they hang him and he dies. And they get to the Irishman, and he's like, give me some of that AIDS stuff. And they inject him with AIDS, and he just starts chuckling. And they're like, what the fuck? Oh, give me a little more, a little more. They give him another shot of AIDS. He starts laughing, like out loud, rolling around on the ground, hilariously laughing. And, the warden's like, why? What the hell? Why are you laughing? And the Irishman replies, you guys are so feckin' stupid. I've been wearing a condom this entire time.
Nice. Well, listeners, I suggest you put on your own condoms because we are about to get into some Doctor Who.
Oh boy. Grab your raincoats.
This is the 6th episode of The Evil of the Daleks, and episode 42 of season 4. So this is the episode that reveals the true meaning of life, the universe, and everything of season 4.
Nice. Season 4 D2? Oh,
Indeed.
Different franchise. Actually, I wonder if Douglas Adams was involved. I bet he must have been somehow involved in Doctor Who at some point.
He was a writer for Doctor Who, actually, for a while. Okay. I don't think we've gotten to his era yet, but
yeah, just one of those things. It's like, you know it happened. All right, cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Do you recall our cliffhanger?
Yes. So, Jemel finally reached Victoria, who was then spirited away shortly thereafter into a hidden passageway, which they followed her through. And eventually they all ended up back together with the doctor, who kind of explained finally what was going on. Instead of manipulating Jamie, he did eventually say what was happening. And had the little brain hard drive thingies with the human emotions in them, the good ones, which he did list chivalry, and I would debate that one, but most of the rest of the ones he listed were good. So those got put into the Daleks, and the Daleks woke up, 3 of them, and started playing around and giving the doctor a fun ride. And so, yeah, that's, I guess, the cliffhanger is, what will Daleks with good human aspects do?
Indeed. And yeah, we pick up right where we left off. The Daleks are still playing their games. They spend a minute playing trains, which I guess is just like going around in a line of Daleks. But, the doctor's like, oh, they're doing trains, Jamie, it's trains.
Nice. Because they're Daleks, it's not conga, it's trains. They're metal, it's got to be trains.
So, yeah, the doctor and Maxtable are like, well, clearly the experiment has been successful. These Daleks seem to have the human factor. And so Maxtable leaves. Jamie asks the doctor basically like what these three Daleks' developmental age is. And the doctor explains that they're basically like young children, but they will mature very quickly, like within a matter of hours.
Okay.
He gathers the three Daleks all around him and explains to them that he and Jamie are their friends. And he names them all. He names them after Greek letters. But of course, he names them after like the British pronunciation of Greek letters. So that's Alpha, Beta, and Omega.
Nice. It does seem very important for one's individuality to be given a name.
Uh-huh. And, you know, he also, like, scratches these letters basically into the base of each of their shells or cases or whatever you call it. So, you know, you can tell them apart, basically.
Nice.
So they're all, you know, excited to learn about the concept of friendship and to have the Doctor and Jamie as friends, and like they seem pretty excited to have been given names. But then they all kind of pause for a moment, and then they tell him that all Daleks have been called back to Skaro. And so the three of them, the three human factor Daleks, all leave. They head through the mirror portal cabinet, which of course Kemel had taken Victoria through under the order of a Dalek.
Right.
So the three human factor Daleks are gone, and then Jamie and the Doctor kind of seem to like suddenly remember Victoria and that they were trying to save her. So they're like, oh shit, let's go check. And they head back to the secret passage to look for her. After they leave the laboratory, Maxtable and Waterfield enter the room. They are mid-conversation as they come in, and Maxtable is assuring Waterfield that Victoria is perfectly safe. He says that she's probably just resting, and Ruth is probably taking good care of her. And Waterfield's like, nah, dude, I saw Ruth and Terrell getting ready to leave the mansion like half an hour ago. Which is news to Maxtable, but he pretends like it's not and that he knows all about it. And he says that he's actually getting ready for a trip of his own. And he tells Waterfield that, like, maybe Victoria's like in the gardens or something. Why don't you go look for her there? So Waterfield leaves. Maxtable starts poking around the laboratory, just kind of like checking out the state of things. And he notices a weird metallic box on the floor with a bunch of like knobs and dials and shit. And as he looks at it, a Dalek comes out of the mirror portal cabinet and tells him to leave it the fuck alone. And it refuses to answer him when he asks what it's for. It just tells him, like, it basically just reminds him of his orders, which are to bring them Jamie and the Doctor, and then they will give him the formula. So the Dalek leaves. Maxtable goes back to investigating the weird box on the floor as soon as the Dalek is gone. Nice. And we see that Waterfield was listening in through the closed laboratory door. So Waterfield comes in the room and he's like, Maxtable, what the fuck formula are the Daleks going to give to you? And Maxtable just kind of like denies everything for a minute. but Waterfield keeps pushing him, and Maxtable can't keep it secret for very long.
You never did understand anything, did you? Well, metal into gold. That's what the Daleks are going to give me. Now do you begin to understand the secret of the transmutation of metal into gold?
Seems like such a... I mean, obviously that would be huge, right, to get that. But such a petty human concern compared to, like, this advanced concept that the Daleks are actually doing, you know.
Right.
That's the little stupid, shitty carrot that they're, like, you know, dangling in front of him when what they're trying to do is, like, quite, you know, a grand experiment, really.
Yeah, totally. And Waterfield's like, dude, I don't fucking give a shit about alchemy. I just want to save my daughter Victoria. So, like, where is she? And he's pretty pissed at this point and actually starts choking Maxtable. And Maxtable kind of like flails around for a minute, manages to grab like a rack full of test tubes, and it hits Waterfield over the head with it and knocks him out cold.
Nice.
The Dalek comes back out of the mirror portal cabinet, basically telling Maxtable to like hurry the fuck up and get the doctor here. It starts messing with the mystery box on the floor, and Maxtable asks again what it's for, and this Dalek is just like, "We are destroying this area," which like Maxtable is pretty upset about, because this is like his house and his laboratory. Right. And if they blow up his house, even if they do give him this secret of alchemical transfusion, it'll be completely useless without like his laboratory to do it in.
Oh, little details. Calm down.
But the Dalek is just like, I don't give a shit. Just bring the fucking doctor. And it leaves through the mirror portal cabinet.
Nice.
So Maxtable starts rushing around the laboratory. He's like throwing shit into a bag, like packing up basically. He's shouting like, "Doctor, doctor, doctor." But not really just looking for the doctor. He's just like shouting the word doctor for a minute. And then he leaves. He just heads on through the mirror portal cabinet without the doctor. And by this time,
gutsy move.
By this time, Waterfield, who's still like on the floor of the laboratory, is starting to regain consciousness. And as he wakes up, he sees a few more Daleks that must have been elsewhere in the mansion all arrive in the laboratory and then leave through the mirror portal cabinet. You know, the Daleks are clearly abandoning the house, basically. And then Jamie and the doctor show up in the laboratory, and Waterfield tells them that the Daleks are going to blow the place up. So the doctor takes a look at the device, the box on the floor, and realizes that the timer is counting down and they only have like maybe a minute left.
Uh-oh.
So they go to the mirror portal cabinet, which is closed, and find that the door is locked. So they're like, shit, what are we going to do? But then suddenly Waterfield remembers the time machine that they have just like kind of under a sheet or whatever in the lab. So they go and pull out the two big arm things and get them all set up. Jamie's like, we've got to go looking for Victoria and Kemmel, but there's, you know, very little time. there's very little time left. They only had a minute, and they've already spent most of it. So he does see the pressed flower on the floor that Victoria had given to Kemmel. So he gets that, and he's like,
"We'll find Victoria, and Kemmel too!"
But the doctor just kind of like gathers Jamie and Waterfield and himself in between the two big arm things, and the three of them vanish, and a moment later there's a big fucking explosion.
Hello, Doctor's Watcher listeners. We are your servants. We do not need guns, but we do need your 5-star ratings and reviews. No more than 5 stars to be seen together at any one time. We are ready to teach these human beings the law of the Doctor's Watcher. Back to the show.
We cut to Kemmel and Victoria in a dark cell that's pretty futuristic looking. It's like metal and has lights and shit. Victoria starts wondering where everyone else is, and then the door to the cell opens and a Dalek brings Maxtable in. He tells Victoria that they're on the Dalek home planet, Skaro, and he says that, you know, he knows why the Daleks brought him here, but he doesn't really know why she's there. And then the Dalek escorts him out of the room. It was kind of like pretty unclear why the Dalek brought him to the cell in the first place, because you just talked to Victoria for like 20 seconds, and that was it.
Right. We are taking you to do some exposition.
Yeah, basically. So, elsewhere on Skaro, Waterfield and Jamie and the Doctor are there. Apparently, the time travel arms took them to Skaro instead of the future for some reason.
Huh. Okay.
Even though, like, the mirror portal cabinet was the thing that went to Skaro.
Yeah, weird.
But they're there, and they're kind of under a rocky outcropping in a very red desert with very dim light. They can see some buildings or structures in the distance, and the Doctor confirms that that is the Dalek city. Jamie and Waterfield are all ready to start trekking across the open desert toward the city, but the Doctor's like,
No, the city is all around us. At least, it's beneath us. Come along.
and he leads them to like a secret opening in the rocks.
Not a sound. I think the Daleks are in for a little surprise.
Nice.
We cut to a Dalek corridor interior, and of course Dalek architecture is very heavily triangle based. A lot of their design elements are triangular, so like you know, the hallway is kind of like a sort of solid lower panel and then like whole triangular design on the upper panels.
Awesome.
And there's a Dalek going down the corridor. The top portion of this Dalek is black, unlike all the rest that we've seen, which are like more silver or metallic. And the black top Dalek is yelling at Maxtable for having disobeyed an order and having not brought the Doctor. And Maxtable is yelling back at the Dalek for blowing up his house. And at some point, the Dalek, like, smacks him with its plunger arm. And I'm pretty sure it's actually getting ready to film negativize him, but it's interrupted by an alarm that starts blaring, and the blacktop Dalek leaves, and then another Dalek shows up and starts escorting Maxtable down the corridor, not killing him quite yet.
Not many people can report having been pimp slapped by a Dalek without getting killed immediately thereafter. Awesome.
So back in Victoria and Kemel's cell, two Daleks show up, and they don't really talk to Victoria and Kemel. They just kind of look at them, and then they talk to each other about how, like, these two humans are still here, so there must be other humans in the city, because the alarm that had started going off was basically the Dalek intruder alert. And human beings have been detected in the city. So Victoria is like, oh, maybe it's Jamie and the doctor, or like maybe they're going to try to come save us and shit. So she's pretty hopeful. The loudspeakers in the city all order all Daleks to observation stations to start looking for the humans, while meanwhile Jamie and the Doctor and Waterfield are all making their way through sort of a narrow rocky canyon. The black-topped Dalek sees Omega, and it's like,
What the fuck is that mark on your case or shell or whatever we call it?
and Omega explains that it's its name. It was given to it by the Doctor.
Doctor? Yes. He is my friend. Follow me.
Awesome. Which, you know, not to mutilate a metaphor here, but Spock calling Kettle black, like the one Dalek already was distinctive. He had, you know, the black top.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why do you look different too?
Yeah. If you can be black, then I can have my name carved into me.
Yeah.
So these two Daleks leave, and a moment later, we see Kemel and Victoria being escorted through the hallway by a different Dalek, which takes them to some other room where Maxtable is. Maxtable asks Victoria what's happening, rather than the other way around, like in the previous scene. And he asks her if she knows anything about the other humans in the city, and she just completely ignores him and pretends he's not even there. Which is fair.
Yeah, totally. He's a bit of a dick.
Yeah. A Dalek shows up and escorts Maxtable away. It tells Victoria and Kemel to stay there. And it takes Maxtable down a dark hallway. And then a few moments later, Victoria and Kemel hear Maxtable scream. And Victoria's like, what the fuck? And then the Dalek comes back and starts escorting Victoria away, telling Kemel to stay. And like, she's pretty worried, but she says that she'll do what it says. She obviously doesn't want to get film negativized, so she's going to go along with it. Mm-hmm. And so it takes her down the dark hallway. We cut away to another sort of dark hallway of a sense. It's an underground tunnel that the Doctor and Waterfield and Jamie are all traveling through. And they have apparently heard what Jamie thinks was a human voice. They're not sure. But then a few moments later, they hear what is definitely the sound of Victoria screaming. Jamie's about to like rush along to try to hurry up and go save her, but the doctor grabs him and stops him just in time because they're actually at the edge of like a huge pit or chasm or whatever that Jamie was kind of just about to like run off the edge of.
Situational awareness, Jamie. Come on.
Just then, like after the doctor stops Jamie, a Dalek shows up and it identifies itself as the doctor's friend, Omega, and it says it's there to lead them. So the doctor starts following it, but he trips. And like while he's down on the ground, he rolls a quick investigation check and takes a look at the mark on the Dalek's case, and it is an Omega symbol. But then when he gets back up, he kind of like backs up against the wall so the Dalek can roll past him. And then when it's directly in front of him, he just like shoves it over the edge into the chasm where it falls to the bottom and explodes.
Awesome.
You think I don't know my own mark? That wasn't the real Omega at all!
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess the Daleks like
sneaky
carved the Omega into it, but they didn't get the doctor's handwriting right or something.
Nice. I mean, still, you know, like very, what's the word? Like not manipulative, but like very, spy-like of the Daleks.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Crafty.
Back in the cell, Maxtable and Victoria are both there, and they both seem totally fine. And Kemal's there too. And Maxtable's explaining.
I tell you, they forced me. They threatened to kill us all. Best of all, they ordered me to scream, and then I was to make you do the same.
So he did.
Kill
You came up behind me in the dark and twisted my arm.
And what else could I do?
Rude.
So, yeah, fuck Maxtable.
Yeah.
Like, if we weren't already to that point.
Right.
Victoria realizes that the only reason that the Daleks would, like, specifically want them to scream would be to draw in the other humans in the city.
That's bait.
And so she starts to cry because she thinks that, you know, probably the doctor and Jamie are being led into a trap. And Kemal does his best to try to comfort her, you know, like putting his arm around her and patting her on the back and whatever. Meanwhile, in a Dalek corridor, a panel in the lower section of the wall opens up, and the doctor and Jamie and Waterfield all crawl out of the panel, and they start to wander down the corridor, and the DM thinks about asking them if they wanted to close the panel because they didn't mention it, but then the DM's like, they didn't mention it, so we'll just not also not mention it.
Yep.
And a few corridors later, the doctor's like,
No, I don't like the look of this. Back the way we came.
So they backtrack. But as they backtrack, they very quickly run into the black-topped Dalek, who had seen the open panel in the wall and started investigating. So it escorts them into actually a pretty cool room, like one of the cooler looking Dalek architecture rooms that we've seen. Of course, the doctor is totally into architecture, so he's pretty happy about this. It's all the walls of the room are black, and there's all this like silver framing and structure that, of course, is all very triangle based. And it's, it's definitely not like just a cell that they've been keeping him in. It's like a room with a purpose. And the purpose is something in the center of the room that I believe we have never seen before, which is the Dalek Emperor.
Ooh.
So if you imagine like a very large, immobile Dalek, it's on kind of a platform or a dais or whatever, and there's like all this hexagonal plating kind of around the flared base part of the Dalek. It doesn't have any arms, like no plunger arm, no film negativizer gun or anything. It's got no arms. It's got a ring, kind of a ring of pieces around it above the lower flared base section, where each piece kind of looks like an architectural buttress. And yeah, it's a pretty neat design. And then there's kind of like a rounded top on top of all the architectural buttresses. And there are just a bunch of like wires and tubes and shit coming out of various parts of the Dalek, and all, kind of attached to like the walls or the ceiling or whatever of the room. So it's a pretty cool setup. I would recommend doing an image search later for Dalek Emperor.
Awesome. Definitely will.
So, you are the Doctor. We meet at last. I wondered if we ever would.
The Doctor says that he has won because he has introduced the human factor into the Daleks.
Somewhere in the Dalek race, there are 3 Daleks with the human factor. Gradually, they will come to question. They will persuade other Daleks to question. You will have a rebellion on your planet.
Haha, I knew it.
Uh-huh. But the Dalek Emperor is like, well, actually...
The human factor showed us what the Dalek factor was. Without knowing, you have shown the Daleks what their own strength is.
So it's like a kind of a double-blind experiment, I guess. Like, the Doctor thought he was just trying to isolate the human factor so they can, try it out in some Daleks and see how the human factor goes. But the actual goal of the experiment was to sort of like use the human factor to highlight the Dalek factor and like really understand, what they're all about themselves.
Nice. Very devious. That's like, Daleks doing real philosophy.
Yeah, totally. And yeah. So now that the Doctor has like inadvertently revealed the Dalek factor to the Daleks, they're going to take the 3 human factor Daleks and like re-impregnate them with the Dalek factor, and then everything will be fine.
Of course.
And the Emperor also has more work for the Doctor to do. He's got a new assignment. It turns on some lights, revealing the TARDIS in an alcove, and it tells the Doctor what his new assignment is.
You will take the Dalek factor. You will spread it through the entire history of Earth.
And with that, the music plays and the words on the screen say Doctor Who Patrick Troughton.
Interesting. So, okay. I mean, why do they think the Doctor's really going to go through with that, but I'm sure they have some way to force him into it.
Yeah, I think it's basically just like, we have your TARDIS and we're not going to give it back unless you do what we say. But also, if the goal is to spread the Dalek factor to the entire history of Earth, that's obviously going to require a time machine, so they're going to have to give him back his TARDIS in order to do it. So then why would he do it?
Right. And also, even if they had some way to force him, it's like, okay, one admittedly very incredible vehicle versus the entire history of a species. Like, that doesn't really seem like it weighs out. So yeah, that's cool. Interesting to see how they plan to force it or what they plan to do.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, as always, I'm always impressed with how devious the Daleks are.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun twist.
One-sided, yeah. Like, they are strong and brutal and like uncaring, but they're so plotting as well.
Yeah, they get pretty strategic.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's kind of crazy to think back that this just started with some, basically capers in the Victorian era with like a mad scientist trying to turn metal into gold and shit.
Yeah, and like even before that, it just like the Doctor and Jamie at the airport being like, the TARDIS is gone. I wonder what happened.
Oh, yeah. Right, yeah. Let's go hang out at a cool club with a bunch of like hipsters and stuff. Nice. Yeah, I definitely love a good story that like ratchets up into crazy territories.
Yeah, totally.
Well, cool. Yeah, don't spoil this, but like I wonder how much there's left in the series, because it seems to be like pretty much close to the top of the action or whatever.
Yeah, and this was episode 6. Like, it's pretty rare for serials to go on much longer than this. Yeah.
So, well, I can't wait to hear what happens next.
Indeed. Yeah. It'll be...
Any more notes about this one? Or?
Yeah, not really. Just that, yeah, it's going to be interesting to find out, like, how the Dalek factor is going to interact with the human factor, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. Yeah, I can picture that turning out many different ways. Like, maybe they do go back and put the Dalek factor into humanity, and like that's just what made humanity into what it is now. Like nothing different happens or whatever.
Oh,
like it's
fun,
been that way. Yeah. So I guess with time travel, you can do all sorts of fun stuff like that. But yeah, can't wait to find out what happens, because obviously they do also have to probably rectify the explosion at the mansion, I would assume. I guess maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see like whether we even make it back to Victorian era England, or if we're just done with that setting now.
Yeah, like, did the maid survive? What happened to her? So, cool. Well, that was a good one. Thanks for describing this awesome episode to me, Kyle.
Indeed, and thanks for listening to it.
Pleasure. And thanks, listeners, for listening to me listen to Kyle describe the episode.
Indeed. They say that without listeners, podcast is just people talking.
Right.
And by they say, I mean I say right now in this moment.
Indeed. Yes. Also, if a podcast gets recorded and broadcast into the forest, but no one is around to hear it, is it really a podcast?
Indeed. And if it gets broadcast into a dark forest, you better be careful, because, like, someone's going to hear that and come murder you.
Right, a bigger podcast will come crush it.
Uh-huh.
Well, cool. I guess on that note, we should probably stop podcasting then, so that that dumbass Joe Rogan doesn't come crush our podcast.
Seriously?
Well, cool. Listeners, don't forget to punch all the buttons in the face, smash that like, lick the subscribe, and use all 5 of your fingers, each one granting a star.
Indeed. That's why you've got 5 of them.
Yep. And yeah, I guess we will resume in 2 weeks to see what these Dal humans or human Lex end up doing.
Sounds good. Listeners, come back in 2 weeks and learn all about the evil and good of the Humlex.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Look, they're all joining in. They're playing trains. Oh, now what is it? Oh, we're on the roundabout. They're playing roundabouts. Oh, I'm getting dizzy. Oh, dear. Oh, I'm dizzy. Oh, I'm dizzy.
Dizzy, Doctor.
Vegetable, do you hear that? They've got a sense of humor.
I'm glad you are so easily amused.
Yes.